In the 32nd century, peace was not a privilege, but a carefully maintained illusion. The galaxy had long been governed by the Quorum, an ancient and enigmatic council made up of representatives from the 5 most powerful interstellar empires. The Quorum had one job: to prevent all-out war across the stars. Yet beneath their veneer of diplomacy, tension simmered. In the distant Cygnus sector, a fleet of Terran ships floated in the void, awaiting orders. Captain Allura Dren, a battle-hardened leader from the United Terran Federation, paced the bridge of her flagship, the Aegis Dawn. Her dark eyes glinted with restrained fury. The Terrans had been on the defensive for years, constantly appeasing the Quorum, while their enemies, the reptilian Zorth Dominion and the elusive Vandari Collective, grew bolder. "We can't keep this up," Allura muttered, looking at her second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Ron Velasquez. "The Quorum keeps talking about peace, but all I see is us losing ground." Ron nodded, his face grim. "Rumors that the Vandari have broken the non-aggression pact. They're making moves near the neutral zones." Before Allura could respond, an urgent transmission came through. The holographic image of Counselor Zerth, the Quorum's Terran representative, appeared on the command deck. "Captain Dren, you are to proceed to the Quorum Citadel immediately," Zerth ordered, his voice cold like polished steel. "The Council has convened to address recent developments." Allura's jaw clenched. Recent developments, she asked, though she already knew what it meant. War. The Quorum, for all its power, could only delay the inevitable. The Aegis Dawn arrived at the Quorum Citadel, a colossal station that orbited the dead star Solidus Prime. A symbol of neutrality in the galaxy, the Citadel's architecture was as old as the galaxy's first civilizations, a monolith of shining metal and ancient stone. It housed the political core of the galaxy's factions, a place where peace had always been fragile. Captain Dren, now dressed in formal Terran military attire, was escorted into the Grand Chamber, a circular room where the 5 representatives sat on raised platforms. Each member of the Quorum had a unique gravitas, reflecting the ancient might of their empires. Zerth stood tall and human, flanked by the towering, scaly Zorth warlord Murata and the silent, cloaked Vandari envoy Vistra. Alongside them were the SCY, a race of energy beings, and the enigmatic Kristen from the far edges of the galaxy. The Quorum has reached a tipping point. Zerth began as Allura took her seat among the Terran delegation. The Vandari have violated the terms of the peace accords. They've launched an unprovoked attack on our research colonies near the Andromeda Gate. Vistra, the Vandari envoy, raised her hand in objection. Her voice was a cold whisper. The colonies were in disputed space. The Terrans overstepped their boundaries. We merely corrected an imbalance. You slaughtered thousands of innocents. Allura shouted, standing from her seat, her voice echoing in the chamber, filled with rage. Murata, the Zorth warlord, grinned, his reptilian teeth gleaming. Let the Terrans and Vandari settle this on the battlefield. It has always been the way. But Zerth shook his head. That would plunge the galaxy into chaos. The Quorum cannot allow it. A silence fell over the chamber. For centuries, the Quorum had kept the balance, mediating conflicts to avoid full-scale galactic war. But this time, the scales were tipping. Then what would you propose, Zerth? Vistra's voice was venomous, her eyes gleaming beneath her cloak. You can't hold back the tides of war forever. Zerth sighed. I suggest a more contained conflict. A single battle between our champions, fought on neutral ground. The fate of the galaxy decided by honor, not annihilation. Allura was stunned. A Quorum-sanctioned duel of champions? It seemed like a desperate move, one that would do little to settle the deeper conflicts. But to her surprise, the Vandari envoy nodded slowly. Agreed. We will field our greatest warrior. Murata chuckled darkly. And the Zords shall relish the bloodsport. The SCY and Kristen representatives remained silent, their glowing forms unmoving. They had no stake in the war. Not yet. Back aboard the Aegis Dawn, Allura was deep in thought. The fate of the Terran Federation now hinged on a single battle. She knew there was only one choice for their champion. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Ron asked, his expression tense. "Yes," she said firmly. "If this is how we save humanity, I'll do it. Besides, who better to face the Vandari than me?" Preparations were made swiftly. Allura entered the Citadel's arena, a vast dome battlefield set on an asteroid floating in the void. Across from her stood the Vandari champion, a towering, multi-limbed warrior named Vrax. His armor shimmered like liquid mercury, and his eyes gleamed with the cold, calculating intelligence of his species. Zertha's voice echoed in the arena. "The fate of billions rests on the outcome of this duel. Let the battle begin." The two warriors clashed with a fury that shook the very ground beneath them. Allura's combat suit, equipped with cutting-edge Terran tech, enhanced her reflexes and strength. But Vrax was relentless, moving with the speed of a predator, his multiple limbs striking from every angle. Blows were exchanged, and both combatants bled. The arena crackled with energy, the watchers from the quorum silent, their eyes fixed on the battle. As the duel raged on, Allura realized the true depth of the Vandari's plans. They didn't care about the duel or its outcome. The Vandari wanted to destabilize the quorum, to fracture the delicate peace that had held the galaxy together for centuries. This duel was merely a distraction, while their fleets mobilized for full-scale war. With renewed determination, Allura summoned the last reserves of her strength, driving her blade deep into Vrax's chest. The Vandari warrior fell, and for a moment there was silence. Though Allura had won the duel, the Vandari fleet moved forward, launching surprise attacks on multiple systems. War had come, and the quorum was powerless to stop it. The old alliances began to crumble, as each empire prepared for the inevitable galaxy-wide conflict. Captain Allura Dren, now a hero of the Terran Federation, stood on the bridge of the Aegis Dawn, watching as the stars around her filled with the flickering light of distant battles. "We've only just begun," she whispered to herself as the Terran fleet powered up for war. The quorum was shattered, and now the galaxy's future would be written in blood and fire.